just don't understand.
Maybe we do, son. Don't think you have a corner on all of virtue vision in the country, or that everybody else is fat and selfish and you're the first generation to come along that's felt dissatisfied. They all have, you know, about different things, and most of them didn't have the same opportunity and freedoms that you do. Let's talk poverty. Most places in the world, that's not a problem. It's a way of life. And rights, they're liable to give you a blank stare because they may not know what you're talking about. The fact is, more people are living better right here than anywhere else ever before in history. So don't expect us to roll over and play dead when you say you're dissatisfied. It's not perfect, but it's a great deal better than when we grew up. 100 men standing in the street hoping for one job, selling apples on the street corner. That's one of the things we were dissatisfied about, and you don't see that much anymore.
You're taller, stronger, healthier, better educated, and you live longer than the last generation. And we don't think that's altogether bad. You've probably never seen a quarantine sign in your neighbor's door. Diphtheria, scarlet fever, whooping cough. Probably none of your classmates are crippled with polio. You don't see many mastoid scars anymore. We've done quite a bit of fighting all around the world. Whether you think it was moral or not, a lot of people are free today to make their own mistakes because of it. And that may just include you.
I don't know. Maybe part of it's the fact that you're in a hurry. You've grown up on instant orange juice. Flip a dial, instant entertainment. Dial 7 digits, instant communication. Turn a key, push a pedal, instant transportation. Flash a card, instant money. Shove in a problem, push a few buttons, instant answers. But some problems you can't get quick answers to, no matter how much you want them. We took a little boy into Central Receiving Hospital yesterday. He was 4 years old. He weighs 8.5 pounds. His parents just haven't bothered to feed him. Now, give me a fast answer to that one. One that'll stop that from ever happening again. And if you can't settle that one, what about the 55,000 Americans who will die on the highways this year? That's nearly 6 or 7 times the number that'll get killed in Vietnam. Why aren't you up in arms about that? Or is dying in a car somehow moral? Tell me how to wipe out prejudice. I'll settle for just the prejudices you have inside yourselves. Show me how to get rid of the unlimited capacity for human beings to make themselves believe that they're somehow right and justified in stealing from somebody or hurting somebody. And you'll just about put this place here out of business.
I don't think that we're telling you to lose your ideals or your sense of outrage. They're the only way things ever get done. And there's a lot that still needs doing. And we hope you'll tackle it. You don't have to do anything dramatic like trying to come up with a better country. You can find enough to keep you busy right here. While you're at it, don't break things up in the name of progress or crack a placard stick over somebody's head to help him see the light. Be careful of his rights, because your property and your person and your rights aren't any better than his. And next time, you may be the one to get it. We remember a man who killed 6 million people and called it social improvement.
So hang in. Don't try to build a new country. Make the old one work. It has for over 400 years. And by the world's standards, that's hardly more than yesterday.
What's been going on with Terry Rumpel and Cascadia. And then fast forward to right now, where we're seeing activity that would indicate what Terry Rumpel is saying is true. And that has a lot of implications for everybody around the globe, truly. Not just out there in the Cascadia seduction zone, not just everybody on the West Coast. You know, that's going to even affect you and I and everybody on the East Coast. It's going to affect the whole world if this actually goes off. And we're seeing the uptick now, and we're seeing the potential in the planet, in the cosmic ray flux. It's not good, you guys. Because a lot of people were laughing at Terry and wondering if he isn't just a crock of bullshit. You know what I mean? If this guy isn't just a faker. But now that in the last 3 days, since he's been talking about this for 2 weeks now, and nothing was happening with Cascadia before, now something's happening and people are paying attention. So we're going to watch it. Like I said, I'm not going to put any hard dates or any hard predictions on it, but what I am going to do is say that there's enough going on with what I know for us to take an actual look at what this man is saying and potentially take heed until further notice. You know, if we get 6 months out, or, 6 weeks out, not 6 months, but like 6 weeks, 2 months out, and we are not seeing any activity, then we can call him out because he said that it would happen within the at least distant future, within the next 3 months. Like, he didn't see it any further potentially than that, maybe a year or whatever. But you know what I mean? At a certain point, how can you just keep saying it's out in the future? You know, I can sell you, a bridge in Brooklyn, if I keep telling you, oh, well, you can own it next week, you know, you come out here and check it out, act like it's yours, but you can own it next week. And I keep telling you that till the end of time.
Right.
Right? Like, that's, so we got to watch it. I don't want him to, like, you know, sell us all downriver. But in the same breath, I still feel like this is something to watch. I mean, like I said, we're all going to be affected. A lot of our food comes from the West Coast. You know, a lot of things come from over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, and then too, what about all the potential, you know, radiation and, you know, if it does make any of the volcanoes go off over there, like Rainier or Mount St. Helens, what about all the radioactive fluoride and iodides and SO2 and, you know, all the potential health effects? And this will be right at Christmas. Like, this would be the worst case scenario for this. Holiday season, the big one, earthquake. And you know what's really funny is I felt really nauseous and kind of lightheaded and dizzy feeling earlier tonight. And other people were reporting the same thing. And I noticed about the time that those feelings passed was the same time that the 6.0 hit. So I'm wondering if I'm not even getting sensitive enough, because I've felt this a few other times in larger earthquakes, 6.0 or above, if I'm not starting to be sensitive to it atmospherically, even though it's so far away. Where that pressure coming into the Earth's atmosphere at all, I'm like, that doesn't make me feel very good.
Right.
And, you know, what scares me about that is one of Ron's listeners, and we got to look into this, Red, because she asked if we would, and asked me to look into this case in particular. Because she, the other night, she lives in Illinois, okay, and she lives on a farm, right? And she's got chickens, and she's got horses, okay? And I don't know if she has any other animals. I think she might have said one or two goats, but it's mostly horses and chickens. I remember her saying that. Last Wednesday, when the storm came through her area, the first snowstorm, the one that hit you guys down there that probably Brains Aunt died in, unfortunately, which everybody should put out prayers for that, just an extra reminder. That storm came over her home, and she and her husband were stuck in bed for over an hour in the most intense pain of their lives. Like, they were so affected that even their animals were affected, where she said her very, very hyper small dogs, you know, like, you know, small livestock dogs, but not like large dogs, like, were literally crawling and whimpering in pain across the bed.
Mm.
And this went on for about, she said, like, the whole hour that this storm, or the hour or two that this storm was over her area. It was so bad that a neighbor had called from a half mile away asking, did you feel really strange when the storm went over? Are you feeling okay? Because I'm feeling a lot of pain, and, you know, and of course she's like, absolutely. You know, I mean, it was so bad that she said if she would have had access to a firearm, she would have shot herself. And I'm wondering what type of, either I was thinking of more along the lines of like MK Ultra electromagnetic weapons, but what if weather is getting so bad and the cosmic ray flux is coming in so hard that it can affect people physically as well? And now we're going to have to deal with physical effects of these events passing as well.
I think that's it's a possibility, but I think it's more likely that is man-induced.
That's what I was wondering, because you know what I mean? Both scenarios could be possible just considering the time we're in. But like I was telling her, knowing what we know about Mannequin and HARP, things like HARP and radar and satellites around them and 5G and how 5G works off microwave satellites similar to radar.
Yep.
It makes me wonder if it's not more that these storms come over and have been charged with these HARP type energies, and those are what are affecting our body. Now, like I told her, I would look into it either way, but those are my two hypotheses running. Either grand solar minimum is getting so bad that it's physically affecting people, and or, because it could be both, there's man-induced. But it's not normal. And she and her husband say she's older. I think she's in her 60s, maybe 70s. She said her husband and her have only felt like that during a tornado that happened 2 years ago. Not quite the same, but similar. Where the barometric pressures dropped really, really low and damaged their farm and barns and all that. So I found that piece of information fascinating because the only other time they felt like that is when these low pressure storms that went over them. So just an interesting fact.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll be looking into that. Because I don't know what to make of it quite yet. But it's something.
Right.
Yeah, I had to give that update because before anything else happens in the world, I wanted to give my opinion on what's happening and just saying that something's kicking up out there in the world. What exactly? Don't know yet.
Right.
But if it's anything like what they claim is the Cascadia subduction zone event could be, you know, and mainstream has been coming out with more articles, you know, saying, hey, we could see the big one soon. You know, even southern New England got an earthquake earlier.
Right.
You know, at M2.0. 240 kilometers east of Manhattan. So, I mean, it's like we're starting to see that pressure spread evenly all over the country. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't start seeing more activity just because of the magnetosphere activity. Vancouver Island's been getting hit a lot. Washington's been getting hit with steady 4.1s, 3.6s.
Right.
And then now we got a 6 coming down the pipeline. Lord help them. Because then if we maintain those pressures and then maybe get a 7 or an 8 and then a 9, and even Mayotte got hit again, something's in the air that's pushing this pressure. Because Mayotte, remember, had those thousands of earthquakes and then stopped, and then we found out it was a new volcano. So something's going on. I hope not to see this because all of our friends and family in California and in Washington and in Oregon could be hurt.
Right.
And they're already going through a really tough time. This past week, even in San Francisco, 3 weeks ago, they were on fire. Last night and the night before, it was so cold that the North Bay was freezing. You know, we found out recently in the last 2 weeks, Red, that California houses half of the homeless population of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So out of the 525,000 suspected homeless people, 320,000 or so, let's say, give or take, live in California.
Right.
Or let's just say 250, 275,000 people homeless live in California. That is insane. They're wondering why, things like the plague and other things are coming back. Well, first of all, we don't teach these people how to live, first of all.
Right.
We need to teach people you don't eat where you shit.
Right.
Okay? And you need to maintain some form of cleanliness or else you're just an animal. We need to start teaching people that instead of just teaching them that it's dirty to be homeless and you shouldn't do it. Well, you need to teach people how to be homeless with dignity. Also, people like the city of San Francisco. Why do they let all these people be homeless, shit on the ground everywhere, to where they literally have to hose off the streets daily because there's just piles and piles of shit everywhere? Yet, want to talk about let's find a way, let's have a meeting to spend money to find ways to reduce the feces on the streets instead of just putting a goddamn porta potty out there. You know the people are homeless and ain't got nowhere to go, and you ain't got nowhere to put them, so you might as well just try to mitigate the situation.
Right.
At that point, it's cheaper for the city to order a bunch of porta potties and those portable hand washing centers that have soap and paper towels and all that.
Yep.
Than it is to be hiring these people who have to wear full-blown hazmat suits, put themselves potentially at risk from disease, theft, or bodily injury or harm, over them trying to find some way of dignity for these people. Let's try to get them in homeless encampments off the street. Well, that doesn't exist today. But you know what can exist today? A fucking toilet so people stop shitting on the street, because you keep thinking about what you're going to put them in tomorrow, but they keep shitting on the street today.
Mm-hmm.
It's real though, G. I'm serious. I don't understand how they think they're going to keep functioning at that capacity when it's that situation. It's like you guys are thinking about what you can do for them tomorrow, but they're shitting on the ground today. So what you going to do today? I need y'all to do something today. That's real. I just really, that's my plea to the state of California. You guys have 200+ thousand homeless people, and yet you say that you want to get them into housing. Buy them tiny homes. Get them shabins. You could put them in parking lots. Hell, use the idea that I saw that the Australians were using. They were letting people at night sleep in parking garages that aren't being used.
Yep.
Like daily use parking garages, and then they're setting up blow-up mattresses with real sheets and linens, and then taking them down in the morning. And they were even able to figure out a way to do portable showers even, that they can click together at night and take down easy with volunteers in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And why can't we do that here? We could do that everywhere. Until I saw that, I never thought of that as an idea, but now that I saw it, it's such a good idea. Because, look, people are worried about taking them into churches and places, because damages or whatever, liabilities, whatever. But a parking garage, so many people, the one, connecting thread was, everybody said, because people forget, if you're homeless, you're probably not sleeping a lot, because if you go to sleep and go into a hard sleep, somebody could steal all your belongings. Somebody could kill you.
Right.
It could be dangerous to fall fully asleep.
Right.
You may also be on drugs. You may also be, there may be so many different issues to where these people were and sleep depravity causes you to do crazy, crazy things as a human being.
Yes.
Some of these people said that they were able to get out of drugs alone simply on the simple fact that they were able to sleep without being disturbed. They finally had gotten a full night's sleep and they couldn't remember how many years, and that allowed them to just focus. Some people were even able to get a job because they said nobody was messing with me at night, and I could be rested and rejuvenated. Literally, all it's taking for some of these homeless people to turn the fucking corner is literally to be able to fucking sleep a few nights and get their mind back right. That's it. So if it's that simple for some of these people, there's got to be a way we can do this without necessarily having tent cities everywhere and, women walking down the streets getting poured hot buckets of shit on their head because that happened in California.
Right.
It's only going to get worse with attacks like that when these people are allowed to just continue to be this way. I mean, in this gentleman's case, he had mental illness, but there's got to be a better way, Red. Because what are we going to do? What about all the veterans?
I mean,
Go ahead.
I mean, it's California, man. They don't make no sense.
That's true.
I mean, you're talking about the same state that in one breath is like, we're going to fucking make straws illegal because straws are taking up so much room in the fucking landfills, but we're going to make fucking going into a booth in town with a throwaway fucking needle acceptable behavior.
Right.
Because those needles don't end up in the same place that the straws did.
Right.
Not trying to be an asshole, but, because the straws weren't safer than the needles.
True.
And now you're providing booze and you're providing one-time use throwaway needles. And again, not being this person, because I know like the whole throwaway needle thing is a big deal so that it's sanitary, but a lot of these people kept one needle for a long, long time.
Right.
So if anything, by doing that booth, in your logic, California, by doing that booth, you increased the needle waste.
Right.
How is that helpful to your state?
You're right, it's not.
Okay. You guys are facing things like pandemic. Okay.
Right.
Hope everybody gets that pun on words there, all right?
Not
pandemic. All right. You guys have serious issues like that right now. Pandemic. And y'all are like, let's fight about some straws.
Right. Yeah, let's get rid of straws because, there's not more giant things of plastic that we use every day like water bottles or, other things that are basically the same thing. But let's pick on straws.
Or all the needles that we now just made, legal in the little booths.
Oh, right. To let yourself inject up with, drugs.
Yep.
Of which necessarily I don't think that necessarily shouldn't be happening, but check it. When we have people who don't even get insulin,
okay,
and that's a necessity to live, why are they not getting needles and products before an addict who, regardless of how you feel about it, chose, except for the people who were forcibly shot up, which does happen,
right.
People who are unknowingly drugged.
And we're also seeing a lot more of that with the sex trafficking rings, so we totally understand that.
Right. So if you're in that situation and you found yourself in addiction, I understand. Or just through circumstance, young girl or, friends or peer pressure or something. But some people it is a choice too. But for those people, in addiction, I can understand why it's hard. But for everybody else, like, we need to start thinking about, why aren't these people who need it to live but not put over people who honestly ain't going to necessarily die from not having it? Yeah, it's going to suck to withdraw. And yeah, it's going to suck to not have your dope. And you're going to get dope sick.
Right, yes. But you ain't going to die.
But you ain't going to die, though, right?
Like, I feel very much like the hangover thing, like, right now. Like, did you die, though?
But did you die? Like, but did you die?
But did you die, though?
Right. And you did not.
And you did not. You wanted to die. You felt like you were dying, but you did not.
But you did not die. Now, people will say, oh, but Scarlett, people have died withdrawing. Okay, yes, that may be true. But there are medical interventions that you could do before that death would be an option. For people without insulin, there is no fucking option.
Right.
Okay? There is no option. There is no, I could just go to the doctor and get a few shots of medication and I'll feel better and my dope sickness will stop. Okay?
No, they
That's
really
true.
will die if they don't have their shit.
Right. So there's a distinction there. So that's the thing. So when we have a state who doesn't have its priorities put into play
At all.
I could see how we maybe got into that situation because we've got pandemics on the streets, literally and figuratively.
And again, not trying to be this person, but you brought it up, right, already?
Right.
So I'm just going to say it. You're going to give people the okay to go into these booths and shoot up drugs that are already shitting in the streets. They're already shitting in the streets. They're not even high yet. Now you're going to let them get high and you think the shitting in the streets is going to stop.
No, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse.
Yeah, Lord, exactly. Give me strength.
Instead of 1 or 2 on the streets shitting on the corner, it's going to be 5 or 6. And we hate to be funny about it, but it's literally getting that bad. If you haven't seen, I forget where that, I think it's like Kensington Row out there in Pennsylvania, or is it New Jersey? I forget, somewhere on the East Coast, where they have, it's worse than Skid Row used to be 20 fucking years ago.
Right.
Like, and that's a damn shame because if people don't know how Skid Row was 20 years ago, it was like the cruelest place you could ever be. Skid Row looks like Club Med compared to this Kensington Row.
Right.
Like, seriously, I mean, people look like zombies. They don't even look like they're living anymore. And people wonder about The Walking Dead. If people keep getting addicted at the levels that they're getting addicted, we're going to have our own Walking Dead scenario. Because here's the deal. This is the one thing people aren't necessarily equating into their preparation scenarios. All these dope heads whose dope's cut off day one, what the fuck they do?
Oh, man. They lose their shit.
Yeah. They might be inside pissing and shitting in their pants for a few days, but after that, they're going to be on rampages. Okay? And depending on what they're on, they might be on a rampage from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Irresponsible behavior, and then after they're cut off, they just start losing it. And then we're not thinking about all those people. All the people on medications who all of a sudden now become basically invalids. You know, because if they don't have their medications or machines, they're pretty much dead.
Well, think about it, dude. You just brought up a really good point. Because we've been saying for a while, why? Why would we tell people you can't do heroin, but here do the exact equivalents of heroin chemically, man-made, in this pill.
Right, in morphine or opioid derivatives, right. Don't do heroin, but here's something that's exactly the same.
Line up for it. Get it as your prescription.
Right.
Pay for it or have insurance pay for it.
Well, that's already how they're conning people.
Now wait.
Honestly.
Because here's my point that you had just brought up. We have all these people that are now legally dependent on this. And into the world scenario, they can't line up anymore. What happens when the government stops giving them their pill? Or can't give them their pill? Is this why they're creating such a mass dependency on it? Is their ability to yank it away and what that would actually cause in the big game?
Well, hold that thought, because not only that, plus, okay, half of the people who are already on dope are on it because their legal pharmaceutical dealer cut them off and they went to the fucking street.
Right.
So you've got that double-edged sword, but yes, I do think exactly that, plus what I just mentioned. It's a dual-edged sword, because yes, it's going to cause a bigger issue once they're cut off. Then it brings it to the street. But once the street and the pharmacy gets cut off in one foul swoop, then what?
Right.
Then what? I say then it all hell breaks loose. How does it not? Let's think about it. Let's say something like Cascadia happens tomorrow, right? Which it could. You know what I mean? Let's say a 9.0 earthquake rocks the whole East Coast or West Coast. Millions of people displaced. Okay? The little Jim Bob who was slanging you heroin bags or coke, okay, no longer is in business because his house just fucking crumbled. Okay? And then, let's say the house started on fire or something. So now all of Jim Bob's customers are not getting fulfilled. And if everybody else is in the same situation with disaster mode, where are they getting the dope from? The dope's gone. What do? It's going to be mass panic day one. Mass panic. I'm telling you, I already know it. I feel it. Because that's a deep, dirty truth that they don't talk about during all these natural disasters. Where the dope fiends at? When whole towns and whole cities and all this shit get taken out, where the dope fiends at? Because they somewhere.
Right.
Because I used to remember a friend of mine who lived next door to me for many years, and when she was at her mom's, she lived in a trailer park. She said it was the worst trailer park ever because, like, and this was in a decent area. This wasn't even in a bad area. But when they would be in the tornado shelter, the tweakers would be freaking out, and dope fiends would be freaking out so bad that they're shooting up and taking their drugs in the shelter, thinking they're about to die anyway and shit, and freaking out. So it is not. They do not make good decisions when the shit hits the fan and your lives are on the line. And how many of these people do you want to be around at once? That's why I'm scared about some of these big city centers. Screw the people who will be coming after you who are normal and have some sense of, like, normal minds. These dope motherfuckers are going to be the ones we have to worry about. They're going to be like The Walking Dead. I'm not kidding. It's going to be messed up.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Even the people on legal drugs who then start going through withdrawals or sickness or whatever. You know, if somebody finds out you have a stash of medication or something mood-altering or mind-altering, they can try to beat your ass for it because they don't have nothing else.
Oh, yeah, and they will.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, I haven't thought about that fact too often, but now that I'm, like, saying it out loud, it's a lot scarier than what people want to admit or think, and I don't think we've heard this brought up too often in the preparation sphere.
Nope.
I think it needs to be brought up more because you know what? But see, you and I know about these more, you know, I don't know what you would call them, more degenerate according to society lives or alternative lifestyles or hood behavior or trash folks, whatever you want to call it. We've been exposed to more of that, so we know about it. So it's in our consciousness. Because I'm worried, like I said, I'm worried about all the hood folks. I'm worried about all the alcoholics. What about them?
Oh,
all the
yeah.
alcoholics going to be losing it day one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, shoot, even if my supply of cigarettes gets cut off, I'll be pretty pissed. Not that if my life is in danger, I'll actually care at that point, but I'll still be like, damn, we ain't got no cigarettes. I'm going to make a joke about it.
Right?
Right? Like, because I'm going to be like, damn, why didn't I get more cigarettes? Prepped all these stupid things, didn't prep more cigarettes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, honestly, of which makes me think I need to prep cigarettes. like a bag of tobacco in the thing. I found little like small sizes of tobacco that do like a pack or two at a time. I should buy a couple of those and throw them in with some filters in the machine.
Keeping tobacco is so hard because it goes stale.
Yeah, but you know what? If it's the end of the world, I'd rather have a goddamn stale cig than don't. Think about that. But these are like sealed individu packs. So I mean, it would probably hold moisture as long as it could. You know what I mean? And then you could always add a little water, try to moisten it back up, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Try to put like a wet leaf in there or something. I mean, if it's the end of the world, you gotta make do. But like I said, I'd rather have a cigarette than not in the end of the world. That's all. But it's hard because that's like I said, but that's the scary reality of the fact is this whole underworld. That's a good word for it. The whole underworld will implode, but then that's gonna implode on the rest of us as society.
Oh yeah, quick.
Hell yeah, quick as hell. And half of the people aren't even adept or adapted to their behavior, and so this could be actually really dangerous.
Oh yeah, because nobody's really gonna be prepared for it. And everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, what the hell?" And I didn't think it would.
We're all thinking about people in their right mind when you think about preparation.
Yeah, nope.
Nope.
You're gonna
we
be
gotta
dealing
think about that. Even people with mental illness
that are no longer getting medications or being controlled. You got to think about the mental asylum people that are actually locked away that can potentially not be locked away because the people who are supposed to watch them.
Prisoners who could get out. Prisoners who could get out at all the prisons. Supermax prisons. All the secret CIA black site prisons that probably exist that we know about because there was at least one in Chicago. So if there was one in Chicago, there's one everywhere. Yeah. That's really concerning though because you're right. Them people will not be no longer watching them because either they're going to run for the hills for their family or be hurt or leave anyway.
Yeah.
And then what's keeping them there? Once somebody realizes, oh, snap, y'all, we can go.
They can just walk right out the front door.
Right. They're gone. That's it. And now they're back in Gen Pop with you.
And Gen Pop's already crazy.
Gen Pop's already crazy. General population already lost their mind. Gen Pop is a jail word for those who aren't hip with jail lingo. Okay? General population. So they come out with the Gen Pop, which is us, which usually is in jail. And what about the crazies that never get to go to Gen Pop? What about all the people who have been in solitary confinement?
For good reason.
You ain't never lied. Like you said, locked up in mental institutions or asylums or residential treatment centers. Because a lot of people don't realize if you're not in necessarily a state hospital where a lot of those places don't exist, you're in a residential home placement treatment.
Right.
And then when the shit hits the fan, those people ain't going to work. They ain't gonna care.
And then you have to understand that a lot of these people that are locked away in these mental institutions or like the programs that you just spoke of, they are okay. In most cases, in the research that we have done, we have learned that in most cases these are usually actually defragmenting MK Ultra, Project Mannequin, Project Blue Book victims.
Yeah, and or even vaccine injury when it comes to a lot of
right now we are seeing a lot of the vaccine injury going in. You're correct now. So keeping that in mind, what is controlling these motherfuckers right now is this fucking medication that they're giving them.
Right.
The only thing preventing a lot of these fuckers in these mental institutions from totally losing their shit, snapping out, and just going on killing sprees is this controlled medication. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that these people are actually crazy. What I'm saying is their capability and what has been triggered in them is to go psychotic and kill everybody. Okay?
Yeah.
The only thing controlling that, the only thing between them and you...
all these people and all these projects are programmed so that if shit hits the fan, they all lose their shit anyway.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Now, these people, the only thing between them and you are these people that work at these facilities.
Right.
And the only thing preventing them from killing these people at the facilities is this medication.
Right.
So what happens?
And the locks and the doors and the people and the programs and all this
Okay,
stuff that's
now we're
set
going to
up
be
is
for real right now.
ridiculously timed for them.
We're going to be for real right now. All of that shit in the long run with these mind control patients, all of that doesn't mean a damn thing. They could have them
That's true. That's just
in
busy
Fort
work.
fucking Knox and they can get out.
Well, that's true, and that's just busy work. But honestly, even for like the mental patients, that's going to matter too.
Right.
Because they've been stuck in these strict patterns that no
Yes.
longer exist with no guidance.
Right. And so what happens when now the people that run these facilities don't show up and now the medications also aren't being given out. And now these people find themselves on the outside looking in instead of the inside looking out where they were never supposed to be in the first place.
Yep.
We got problems.
No, we have huge problems.
Okay. So now you're going to have these people wandering around, who are going through withdrawals.
Right.
Looking for medications, losing their shit, becoming psychotic.
Right.
And there's nothing to control. There's nothing to even get them to go in a different direction, sway them even.
Right.
You know, and this is a dangerous situation, like you said too. Now, the prisons are a little different.
Right.
The only reason I say that is the prisons are federally ran. Okay, now state prisons, totally different thing. But our federal, which are our maximums, which are our ones that we should be the most concerned about.
Yes, anything maximum or supermax security
is federal.
There's only 5 supermax security prisons in
Right.
the United States,
Mhm.
which has some of the most hardened criminals. That's where El Chapo is there. You have one in Colorado.
Yes.
I have one here. And Colorado supposedly, like, you know, one of the bigger ones. Well, now, back in the day, the biggest supermax was here with Oak Park Hyatt. And it was a big deal. And these prisons are run like fine Swiss watches, man. Like fine Swiss watches.
Now, they're going to be a little different because they're federal. So as long as federal government is still running, they will always be manned.
Right, right.
The
Some
moment...
of these private prisons, though, too,
right.
those would probably be up in the air, too, because those are usually contractors.
Correct. Okay. Now, our federal prisons are going to stay on lockdown for a minute, for a while.
Oh, yeah, they'd probably be on indefinite lockdown.
Because as long as... No, when I say lockdown, I mean like under control. For a minute, because...
I meant like full lockdown procedures, because they do
Oh, no, they will. They'll go into full lockdown, but when I say lockdown, what I meant was in control of, and we don't have to worry about escapees or anything from the prisons for a minute, because as long as the government is still active, still actively going, anyone employed by the federal prison system, which I know because my father was a lieutenant for the Federal Bureau of Prisons, they're required. They will come pick them up by helicopter. They will pick them up by snowmobile. They will pick them up by whatever means necessary and take them to work. We had a time in Pennsylvania where my father worked at the Minersville Maximum Security Prison. Okay. It's kind of tucked away there. You know, they do that a lot with maximum security prisons.
With the big prisons, you don't even know where they are.
Yeah, they're tucked away in these tiny little towns that you would never think.
You don't even usually know that they are maximum security. You never know all these dangerous people are hanging out in this neighborhood.
No, you never even see the prison. You can't see it from the road.
No, they make it to where you can't see nothing.
Right, you know, so my dad was working there, and he commuted about an hour to get to work. A bad snowstorm. We hadn't lived there very long. All the roads were closed. Like, there was no going out. You couldn't even go out on the road. They had closed the roads. And we're all like, "Woo, snow day," and my dad's like, "Yeah, no, unfortunately." And he's digging out stuff and he's putting on sweaters and he's doing this. We're like, what is this man doing? And he's like, I don't get the option.
Right.
He's like, and federal law says that they can't be in the prison longer than X amount of time per shift. Like they have to go home and have a rest, a break, and out of the prison. So like
Right.
rotation is a thing, and it has to be done on time because a lot of times rotation is pushed right to that point, to that brink. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah, it's the federal government. They're not going to give
yeah,
any extra people or hours or
yeah,
anything.
I mean,
It's government.
they push that shit right to the brink, like 15 more minutes, and that motherfucker's going over time. So it's like this is and it's like you said, it's a smooth machine. So
Yep.
here is my now, but then again, in a crisis situation, which now we're in because they've closed the roads. So in a crisis situation, they can hold them there as long as they
need to.
yeah.
Right.
There's no limit.
Right.
So in the meantime, my dad's like pulling out stuff. We're trying to figure out what he's doing. And we heard this, sound of an engine thing coming. We're like, what the hell is that? They sent somebody all the way an hour by snowmobile.
But that's not that far on a snowmobile, honestly.
And picked him up and took him to the prison for his shift. Like they ain't playing, G. Like
they will get you there.
They will get you there. Okay, my dad.
I could see that though, working with some of like the EOCs and Imelda and stuff. Them just trying to get in the hospital cooks. They're like, if you've got airboat guys, get them on the airboat, get them into work.
They had an escape at the prison, and it was one of these times where the roads were closed, bad weather, everything was awful. My dad rode my personal horse to work and did a man search on my horse. Rude. Okay, like a manhunt on my horse.
Could have got the horse taken out.
Rude. Now, granted, I'm not gonna lie. Should my horse have been injured in said incident, the government would have paid me very well.
Oh, true that. Yeah, because he would have been.
I would have been able to buy like 5 horses for what they would have paid me for my one.
Funeral and everything. You're right, though. You're right.
She would have had like some honorary shit. Guns would have went off. It would have been a big deal.
Yeah, it would have been a big deal. They would have probably let out some doves and 21 Gun Salute.
Right, I'm just saying.
Seriously, though, that's all they did.
The civilian horse.
Civilian horse. Hero civilian horse. Commandeered. A man takes daughter's pet horse.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, it would have been everywhere. It would have been classic.
Right. Daughter sad, they pan to you.
Right, right.
Here's little child Watkins. You know what I mean? Like, it would be out of control. Like, here's old man. Here is the man now. Let's watch. You know what I mean? And they would show it, and they'd be like, they'd interview you as a child, and you'd be like, my horse is so brave. She did such a good job.
Yes.
Dad's like, I had to take down the criminal.
Right.
It would have been that interview. Like, it would have been out of control. It might have been. We could have even probably been like a Hallmark movie. They might have been a Hallmark movie about it.
Yeah.
Like, or a Lifetime. I guess back then was Lifetime, but Lifetime movie about it. A girl and her horse.
Right.
A man with the law.
Right.
Like, you can see it now, right? With those like 80s, 90s.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Running, down the white picket fence. You know what I mean?
Oh
the
yeah.
Horse fence. You'd have it running down, and then you'd pan, and who will win? Like, whose heart will be broken forever?
Right. Right.
Like,
yeah. Get your own horse, Dad.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. No. They're serious about that. So like we'll be okay with the like federal prisons for a while. But the
Yeah.
minute that our government starts failing,
Or the minute that the people of the prison realize that something's wrong,
right?
that's when it goes to shit. Because I'm going to tell you what, there was an interesting Minnesota legislature meeting with a corrections officer who straight out came and told the legislators if they would ever realize that they could take over, because we're already short staffed and spread ridiculously thin, they would be able to take over quite quickly.
Now, federal prisons.
They're probably just as no, because let's think about it. Epstein was in a federal prison, and they still allowed him to be killed. So
that still has yet to be completely 100% proven on what happened there. Not that I don't disagree that they did let him get killed. However, I believe that that was an inside job. People that worked at the prison.
But still,
now,
see what I mean?
What I was going to say is federal prisons, make no mistake, although their ratio prisoner to, guard to inmates is overran by inmates, obviously, because there's about 5 inmates to every one worker, okay?
Right.
But the one thing I will say that is different from a state prison versus a federal prison has a goddamn arsenal in it.
Yeah,
I do mean a massive fucking arsenal. They have a whole damn armory, Gene.
Oh, I'm sure.
But and see, I mean, and they have some shit in there.
Well, see, that would scare me too, because what if federal prisoners take over, and then they got the armory, and then they're about to take over and come out like cavalry, and then, like, I'm very concerned about this whole prisoner takeover thing, though. I think people need to really think about that. To think about that, and during this disaster, this simulated disaster, all of the nuclear plants that we did shows on previously here on Journey into Freedom about where all the nuclear reactors were in the United States.
And what happens when the people aren't there to push the buttons?
You ain't never lied. So all of them will be melting down at the same time.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, that's what's also concerning me about the situation. Like, now you have, how many, I don't remember how many reactors now, because it's been a while since we did that show.
A lot.
Right, hundreds of reactors now that would be melting down at the same time. That you have this new, we're going to call this the renewed Walking Dead, okay, walking around.
Yep.
And I just don't know how you cope in that situation. That's going to be the hardest part, is dealing with that, just navigating that, because here's a question for everyone out there. Do you know where your local prison and or nuclear reactor is? Do you know where your city jail is? Do you know where your county jail is? Do you know where your state jail is? Do you know where they also place people in halfway houses? Do you know where those are? Because you ain't going to know where all those are.
I'm lucky as shit, G.
I know, y'all are small down there, so you probably do know where those things exactly are. But
we ain't got none of those except the local jail anywhere close to me.
You guys don't let people do transitional housing?
Nope.
In the valley?
Nope.
They gotta live somewhere else?
Yep. Pueblo's the closest place.
Oh, yep.
Remember, we learned that when we first moved here and we had the incident with the guy that we won't mention names, but the guy that came and said that his wife was crazy and he needed help, and then in order to get her help, we had to send her all the way to Pueblo.
Right, that's why. Okay.
Because there ain't nothing like that around here.
Well, that's good, though. You're lucky. But most people ain't going to be that lucky. But
nope.
You do know where yours are. So,
yep.
Right. Red is saying she knows where hers are. But most people aren't going to know where those places are for them.
Right.
Okay. And so with that being said, having nuclear, okay, now mix that with drugged out people, okay, mix that with pharmaceutical zombies, okay, mix that with pharmaceutical dependence, okay, because pharmaceutical zombies and pharmaceutical dependents, we're going to call two different groups. Dependents are those who need medications to stay alive. Zombies are those who would be in a drug-induced state because of the drugs.
Right.
You know, because there is a difference. We do recognize that some people are taking medications to live. Others, while they may seem necessary, may not be necessary.
Right.
Or essential for life.
Right.
But that's a really dangerous factor of preparation that we need to take more look into, because we need to think about how to mitigate those factors. If society collapses tomorrow, and it's multiple areas of collapse, and, you know, places like prisons or halfway houses or transitional places are included, now you have a whole new factor of the population, because it's not just you and your neighbor trying to get along. Now you have you, your neighbor, and potential marauding threats coming at you.
Right.
Because like I've said before, until tonight, we really haven't thought too much about those other unsavory people. We usually just think about those who would be in right of sound mind during that time.
Right.
But there are going to be more people who are not in right of sound mind.
Right.
And so that's a threat that we're going to need to address and identify before it gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it might be okay, but what if said person only has, like, you know, a 2-month supply? And then you run into either they're crazy or, you know, like, this is very concerning now. This brings a whole new element of needing to be able to stay on top of things.
Right.
So I think that's something that we should look into for the future, especially because now that changes the game.
Yeah, definitely. But I need to wrap this up for the evening.
Absolutely. That's what I was figuring that we were going to do at this point.
Yes, because I'm going to fall asleep.
Yeah. But I think we made a good point with the situation that's happening.
Yes, and we'll pick it back up.
Absolutely. Because things are still rapidly developing. We don't know how it's all going to pan out yet.
Right.
But so far, it's not looking good for, you know, a potential catastrophe level event here to still not happen in the next few weeks. So stay tuned to especially Ron from Emergency Management Associates. He has Terry Rempel on every Monday and Thursday. So tomorrow, actually today now, he will be on later today talking about the Cascadia, talking about tonight's 6.0 that happened while we were on air. So for more information, go check that out here on FreedomRevolutionNetwork.com. So with that being said, Red,
dare to be different, dare to be you, and dare to learn to love yourself unconditionally.
And from the land of 10,000 lakes and from the highest desert valley in the great American Southwest, good night, universe.